So the opening salvo then in week 22 was at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United at home to West Ham. West Ham one win out of win with Moyes in charge. But Sheffield were on the front foot early on. 10 minutes and Norwood corner was headed just over by Eden. And then 8 minutes later Lundstrom's effort was blocked. But finally, West Ham got into the game. 29 minutes, Anderson had a flick that went just wide after a Route 1 goalkeeping clearance from Martin in for Fabianski. Then just on the break, a lovely crossfield pass from Anderson found Haller, and he jinked inside, and then his effort managed to unfortunately go just wide and over. So goalless at the break. 46 minutes. Fleck had an opportunity, in fact two. First was blocked and the second just went a fraction wide. And then on 53 minutes, an absolute disaster for Martin as he tried to clear out from his centre of his goal line, and he misjudged it completely, and Sheffield picked the ball up and gifted it to McBurney. Fleck was the provider, and he had an open goal really. He gobbled it up. Not a very crisp strike. The goalkeeper got a slight touch to it, but anyway it went in, and that was 1-0 to the Blades. On 73 minutes, Mousset was put through, and he should have put them 2 up, but his shot was blocked by Martin's legs. And then on 76 minutes, a good free kick from Lanzini was pushed just wide by Henderson in the Sheffield goal. 87 minutes, a Haller header from a Snodgrass assist was tame. Snodgrass had come on as a sub. And then in added time, a bit of a mix-up, and Rice capitalised on some poor defending, motioned into the box, and he slotted the ball to Snodgrass. Snodgrass' shot managed to crawl just inside the post. The keeper's hand got a touch, but it wasn't strong enough, and West Ham thought they'd got the equaliser. However, VAR had a look at it, and it appeared that Rice had used, or a ball had hit his hand anyway, not necessarily used it, to get the ball under control before the final pass. It was ruled out, and so Sheffield United had won the game by a 1-0. They were up to 5th. Wildy's got a 4.5-year contract in the week, so he was really happy. Moyes a little bit disappointed, felt it should have been awarded the goal, but that's VAR for you. So final score at Bramall Lane: Sheffield United 1, West Ham 0.
So to Saturday's opening fixture then, it was at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace at home to Arsenal. Milahalovic not available for Palace, an injury I believe. Arsenal got off to a pretty good start here and were bossing things. First 15 minutes they virtually dominated possession and looked very good on the eye, and it was at 15 that they managed to turn that into a goal. Nice interlinking passing, eventually came to their predator Aubameyang, and he slotted it in the corner wide of Gaeta, and the Gunners were 1 up. After that they continued to dominate, but slowly Palace found their feet. On 30 minutes there was an opportunity first for Palace moving forward, but Zaha didn't manage to make anything of it. He had few chances in that first half, and it was 1-0 at the break. And then second half, Guendouzi came on for Torreira, and 7 minutes into the second half, Ayew shot from Ayew got a wicked deflection off Luis, and it managed to scoop its way over Leno and into the corner, and Palace had surprisingly levelled the match. Well, they really moved on from there and gained a lot of confidence. And on 64 minutes, things looked even better for Palace when a nasty challenge from Aubameyang was given a yellow card, but VAR had a look at it and decided it was more serious than that and advised on a red, and so the Arsenal captain was off and they were down to 10 men. After that, both sides certainly went for the win. 77 minutes, Sokratis managed to clip the ball off the line from a header for Palace inside the 6-yard box. And even later, 3 minutes from time, a panic in Palace's box led to a Pepe effort that hit the post, and the rebound also caused some panic, but Palace survived, and so did Arsenal with the 10 men. Final score at Selhurst Park was Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 1. So to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea at home to Burnley. Chelsea looking to avoid 3 defeats in a row. But they were without Kante. He'd got a hamstring problem, so Bartley was in, and he played in midweek as well in the cup. Last weekend in the cup. So a welcome run for him. The early part of the game, really, Chelsea were really not at the races. Burnley looked comfortable on the ball, and they had an early chance that Hendrick put high and wide. And then a free kick for the visitors, and Mee's header managed to find Hendrick, who converted, but VAR stepped in and he was clearly offside, so no goal. And then against the run of play, really, Willian managed to get on the ball, and he was a little bit too sharp for Loughton, who was in fullback for Burnley. And it was a soft challenge, really, but the referee awarded a penalty, and Jorginho stepped up, and it was 1-0 for Chelsea. Things changed after that because Chelsea started to look much more alive and aggressive. A free kick from McNeil, though, forced a sharp save from Kepa, and the subsequent corner Mee header was cleared off the line. So Burnley still looking lively. But they were having problems handling Reece James on the right, and on 38 minutes a wicked cross from him found Abraham, whose header went in after a really poor mistake by Pope, and Chelsea went to the break 2-0 ahead. Into the second half, and Hudson-Odoi managed to get to a Aspilicueta cross early on, and prodded it home, and that was 3-0 to Chelsea. Flattered them, to be perfectly honest, but they were already in the comfort zone then, and they dominated the rest of the match. On 71 minutes, there was an opportunity for a fourth from James's cross, but Abraham this time failed to get a touch. Pope managed to spare Burnley's blushes late on, but it ended with a comfortable win for Chelsea. Final score at the Bridge then was Chelsea 3, Burnley 0. So to Goodison Park then, Everton at home to Brighton. Everton really needed to bounce back after that dismal cup performance against Liverpool reserves, and in for the Blues was Davis. He was selected. Brighton had never won at Goodison, so that didn't look very encouraging for them. And Moy was missing for Brighton, injured, and so off we went then. And Walcott had an early opportunity, and he was clearly pulled back by Dunk in the box. When he finally got his shot away, it was handled comfortably by Ryan, but no penalty awarded. A real let-off really for Brighton. Jahanbash had an effort that went just over, but finally on 38 minutes, and deservedly so, some neat build-up play on the left from Bernard and Dania, and finally the ball was fed to Richarlison around about the penalty spot. He turned and got a slight bit of space, and he bent a cute ball into the corner, wide of Ryan, and Everton were in front by 1-0. And that's how it looked at half time. Into the second half, an early chance for Trossard forced Pickford to look lively. It hit the bar, and it woke him up really. But then Ryan, a double save from Calvert-Lewin, which really suggested that Everton were needing a second, and the second effort was a great save from Ryan. And then finally the second arrived following a Dania corner. There was a couple of touches in the box, and Calvert-Lewin finally got his foot to the ball, but then VAR had spotted a handball in there somewhere, and so the goal was chalked off. So it remained 1-0. Potter put on Murray late on, and he had two gilt-edged chances to level the match. First one tested Pickford, and the second one he managed to clip it wide. So Everton hung on. They just about deserved it. Ancelotti relieved to turn things round. Final score at Goodison then was Everton 1, Brighton 0. To the King Power Stadium then, and Southampton were the visitors. Now we all remember what happened at St Mary's 11 weeks ago. Remind you, Southampton lost by 9-0. Well, it was never going to be a repeat of that, and certainly Southampton have improved tremendously since then, and their form is as good as Leicester and Man City. Long was in for Ginepri, and into the action. An early save from Schmeichel from Ings suggested that Ings was going to have an impact on this game, but it was Leicester on 14 minutes who went in front when a good work by Vardy led to the assist, and Pratt delivered on the ball and it went in. This followed a really quick piece of thinking by Perez from a free kick just inside Southampton's box. So Pratt converted, and Leicester were 1 up. They weren't ahead for long though. 5 minutes later, Armstrong shot had a deflection off Maddison and went whistling past Schmeichel, and so we were back to 1-1. Vardy actually scored a little later, but he was well offside. No need for VAR. And Ings had a couple of opportunities before the break. He hit the woodwork first on the near post from an Armstrong cross, and latterly he hit the bar with Schmeichel well beaten. But we arrived at the break and it was level 1-1. Into the second half then, and Sawyers, who had to be on his game to block a Stevens effort after Schmeichel had pushed away a Burton free kick. On 59 minutes, a Leicester corner, and Maddison corner precision personified. Evans got his head to the ball, but a great save by McCarthy. And then Soyosha manages to nudge Long in the penalty box, but an offside flag had saved the Leicester defender, and so no pen. Iniacho had a close range effort divided by VAR, so it still remained 1 each. And then on 81 minutes, a quick breakthrough for Southampton. Ings running through on a pass, and his shot hit Schmeichel's legs but managed to get in the corner of the goal. Saints had gone 2-1 up. After that, Redmond set up Ings, and he could have made it safe with a third, but Schmeichel was strong. And then McCarthy's chest denied Iniacho. And finally on 91 minutes, a Maddison free kick, and Evans managed to convert, but it was chalked off for some infringement. Final whistle arrived and Saints were jubilant. They'd really thrown away the ghosts of that 9-0. They'd come to the King Power Stadium and they won the match by 2-1. So to Old Trafford then, Manchester United at home to the bottom club Norwich. Rashford, it was his 200th appearance for the Reds. Amazing, he's still only 22. The youngest to reach that target of 200 games since George Best and Ryan Giggs. They're the only other two that have done it quicker. And Mata was in from the start for the Reds in midfield. Pookie was injured, so he didn't appear for Norwich. They would sadly miss him. First 20 odd minutes was pretty uneventful, and then on 27 minutes a great cross from the right from Mata, curling over the defence, and Rashford, anticipating at the far post, stabbed it wide across with his right foot, and it was 1-0 to the Reds. Just before the half-time whistle, Buendia had a chance. He set up Cantwell on the left and on the edge of the penalty, and his effort forced a good save from De Gea, fingertip save, and when it was clipped back over, De Gea completed the save, and so that chance went astray. So 1-0 at the break. Into the second half, early on, Williams was put through into the box. He's playing left back for sure, and he was a bit too quick for Krul, who clipped him. Referee pointed to the penalty spot, and Rashford stepped up and converted it in the corner. 2-0 to the Reds, and they were now in the comfort zone. And on 54 minutes, a lovely bit of play by Mata, again on the right, great cross. Martial leapt high above the defence and connected with a sort of backward type header, and it was 3-0, and United were totally in charge of this one. Williams had an opportunity to put them further in front from a great cross by Pereira, but he managed to miss the sitter. But then on 76 minutes, Greenwood had come on as a sub, and on the edge of the box he managed to create a yard of space and hit a sweet left foot shot along the floor, wide across, and that wrapped it all up, 4-0. Norwich are certainly heading for the championship on this form. A good result for the Reds after losing the Derby semi-final in the week. They're now up to 5th, and so final score at Old Trafford: Manchester United 4, Norwich 0. So to the new White Hart Lane then, the match of the round. Spurs at home to Liverpool. Liverpool running away with things at the top. Spurs, of course, now without Harry Kane. He's not going to play at least until April with that hamstring tear. So it was really backs to the wall, really, for Mourinho's men. Oxlade-Chamberlain was in for the injured Milner, and it was him, Oxlade-Chamberlain, who hit a post after great work by Firmino early on, and then Tanganaka managed to block the Brazilian effort a little later, and Firmino was outstanding throughout this match. Casanegra then managed to foil a Van Dijk header, and Mane had an effort just over, but clearly Liverpool were bossing things. Hardly anything for Spurs up front, and finally on 37 minutes Liverpool took the lead. Some clever work by Salah in the box. He fed Firmino and he converted, and that was 1-0 to the Reds. That was what it was at the break. Second half, early chance for Aurier, which was really first sight at goal for Spurs, but Alisson dealt with it comfortably. And then Son got into the game. He had a deflected effort wide on the hour, and he also had another opportunity, and he shot high and wide, and that was a good chance. And then Asensio, near the end, had a great opportunity from about 3 yards to equalise, but he managed to steer his effort wide. That was the closest they came, really. It was a solid performance by the Reds, but nothing outstanding. Origi had a late effort that was saved by Casanegra. full time arrived, and the Liverpool machine continues to march on. They had won this game by 1-0. To Molineux then, Wolves at home to Newcastle. Newcastle 3 defeats in a row now, and with all their injuries, things were looking a bit depressing for Steve Bruce. Wolves, they played more games than any other team in the Premier League, so Nuno Espirito Santo needing to rotate again. Gale was in for Newcastle to support Linton up front. Early action then, and quickly Almiron, showing his class, got on the ball and managed to get his shot away, which went inches wide. And then 7 minutes, a great goal for Newcastle involving Willens on the left, who fed Gale, and Gale's neat little touch to Almiron, who smacked it in the top right hand corner with his right foot, and that means now that he's scored 3 goals in 4 after the drought. Absolutely delighted for him. Almiron celebrating with the crowd, and the Geordies were 1 up. But it didn't take long for Wolves to respond. On 14 minutes, Dendolka, unmarked in the penalty box, managed to get his foot to a Traore cross, and he stroked it past Dubrovka, and we were back level 1-1. And after that, Dubrovka came into his own. A magical pair of feet from Dubrovka denied Jimenez's header from another cross by Traore just before the break. Into the second half, Wolves certainly had the better of it. Longstaff cleared off the line after Doherty swooped at a cross, and it was going in the net. And Dubrovka, brilliant again, denied Neto at the far post. But that was as close as it got to a winner. Final score at Molineux: Wolves 1, Newcastle 1.